Thank you. It is good to be here this evening, and it is telling to hear those stories, both those from times past and from times of the present, to see that, we have made progress as a nation, and Mississippi has made progress as a state, but we are still imperfect. There is still much work that needs to be done. I've known our next honoree for about 20 years. I was trying to figure this out, and it seemed to me that was extraordinarily long, but I think that is the case, Robert. We worked together first in the Department of Justice during the Clinton administration, when Robert was the Assistant Attorney General for the Office of Legislative Affairs. I saw him operate in that difficult position with skill, with grace, and with good humor, forcefully and really effectively advocating for the administration without unnecessarily antagonizing the Republican opposition, something that I didn't do too well. I should have learned more from him. There were some sound words of advice I remember that you gave me during that time that I didn't perhaps apply in the Obama administration. You should have been there with me, should have been with me then. As much as I liked and admired Robert, Janet Reno loved him, and we were all jealous about that. It was kind of, we had these positions and titles and everything, and then Robert would walk in the room and her face would light up, and it was justified. She saw in him the skills that he had, the dedication that he had, the commitment that he had. His government service at the Justice Department, and before that, a long and storied career up on the Hill in Congress, was principled and was in the best interests of the people and for justice. He formed the Raben Group in 2002, a now highly successful public policy firm that represents clients seeking to open the doors of power for a positive, lasting, inclusive change. And he's shown that in the economic sphere, there is not a tension between doing well and doing good. Robert works to drive public policy in a humane direction to bring diversity and enlightened thinking to the boardrooms, think tanks, and corporations in this nation. He's now a private citizen, but he's a public-private citizen. He's worked tirelessly to construct a fair judiciary and to influence legislation to broaden and make permanent civil rights protections. Robert was an ally and a key advisor as the Obama administration set out really broad reforms of our criminal justice system. He was a sounding board, a person you could go to and ask, well, where do you think the problem exists? What about this potential solution? And he always has a way of letting you know, in a nice way, well, that's about the dumbest thing I've heard, Eric. But he makes you think that you somehow reached the conclusion that that wasn't a good idea on your own. He has been a champion for the nation's children by working to improve our educational system as well. In what little spare time he has, he founded the March on Washington Film Festival that has grown exponentially in recent years. People are going to be forgetting about all these other ones, the Robert Redford thing, they're going to be forgetting about it. This is going to be the place to be. It's now a major cultural event in the country and exposes the people in our nation to truths that were too little known, too long forgotten, or too long suppressed. He is a man of business, a man of the arts, and more importantly, a man of the truth. He is a force for economic and racial justice. He has made our nation better. I simply cannot think of a more worthy recipient of the Mississippi Center for Justice Honor than my dear friend and my former and still colleague, Robert Raben. I'm proud to stand with him tonight as he receives this prestigious and well-deserved award. Robert.
Thank you very much, Attorney General Holder. Eric, thank you for making me cry. I realize I have introduced you many, many times, but you've not introduced me, and wow, thank you so, so much. And for being here. I'm a little mad at you for being here. Every minute you're here, you're not in Wisconsin fighting for our democracy, in Pennsylvania fighting for our democracy. Eric's work in leading the redistricting effort is going to make an enormous difference in access and fairness that those of us who care about substantive policy are fighting for. So thank you for your continued commitment. And Attorney Franklin for putting a bug in Attorney General Holder's ear to probably be here tonight. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Dr. Ladner, I want to yield you my time and hear more. It's an incredible honor to be even on the same stage as you, but Dr. Ladner is a part of our film festival, has appeared, and my guess is no good deed goes unpunished. She'll be back. So thank you for your enormous heart and spirit. And Riley and your staff, you're obviously kicking ass. So thank you. I hope you met your financial goals tonight. If not, Mr. Rosenberg and I are happy to do what we do in church, which is pass the hat and get you to your goal. But thank you for your fight on behalf of the people of Mississippi and the nation. I love Mississippi. It's an improbable thing to say. I am from Florida. I had no prior connection to Mississippi until I lived there. And I loved living there. It had me with hello. I lived in Jackson. I went down to work for the Supreme Court. I was a clerk first for Judge Jimmy Lee Robertson, and then did a side gig with Justice Reuben Anderson. And I don't know that they'd seen the likes of me. I was 23, I had a ponytail, I had an earring, I was an open Jew and a closeted homosexual. The latter they'd probably had before. The former, I'm not sure. But they knew about my presence before I was there. My first day, there was a justice named Zaccaro, Judge Joseph Zaccaro from Natchez, and he was the only Catholic on the court. That apparently was a big deal. They referred to him as the papist. And Zaccaro made a beeline for me on my first day, came right over in the hallway. There were many, many clerks. He just made a beeline for me. I don't know how he knew it was me. You're that fella from New York? No, I'm from Miami, but I know what you mean. This was an hour after Chief Judge Roy Noble Lee had, with glee, sworn me in over the Confederate flag, which was not the flag of Mississippi, but he swore me in over the Confederate flag. Zaccaro, with whom I'd had no conversation prior to this moment, grabbed my tie, which was a bright green, which I regret. Raben, I'm a little surprised at your sartorial choice. Haven't your people been in dry goods for millennia? To which I fell instantly in love with Judge Zaccaro. I lived in Belhaven. I lived behind the Church's Fried Chicken. I am the only person, I am sure, that had his own table at Church's Fried Chicken. I ate well in Mississippi. I came back 5 years later under sad but important circumstances. I was then the counsel, the Democratic counsel to the House Judiciary Committee, and there was some increasing abuse going on at a place called Sister Camp, Sister Spirit. Sister Spirit was improbable. It was a lesbian compound in Ovette, Mississippi. And the county and municipality and state were doing nothing to protect them from an increasing abuse, including violence. So Congressman Barney Frank, one of the members for whom I worked, Jerry Nadler, from whom I worked, John Conyers, it was quite a lineup, decided to have a field hearing in Mississippi to try to draw attention to this and the lack of protection. And we had a field hearing on abuse to lesbians in Ovett, Mississippi in the early 90s. There were protesters chanting throughout the hearing, "Sodomy sucks. Sodomy sucks." To which Congressman Barney Frank loudly said to me, and I don't know if we could hear it in the crowd, "What side do you think they're on?" I hope that was okay for your children. The entire Galloway family is here. But the more meaningful connection I had with Mississippi came many years later. I happily accompanied Congressman John Lewis on an annual pilgrimage that he does, usually to Alabama, but one year we went to Mississippi. And we found ourselves appropriately in Ruleville, and which is where Mrs. Fannie Lou Hamer worked on the Marlowe plantation and began her work with others to change the course of this nation. And I was struck at the conversations we were having there and a little vigil we had. There's a memorial, many of you have probably been to it, to Mrs. Hamer. It's a bronze-ish statue of her, and it's dignified, and it's beautiful, and it's under a cupola or next to a cupola. And regrettably, and this is no indignity to AT&T, it says on the bottom of it, sponsored by AT&T. And my heart literally broke. God bless AT&T. But I realized this woman, and you all know her, and you were friends with her and worked with her, and I'm jealous of you for that, who made it through the 5th grade, who had her entire life in this milieu on the Marlowe and other plantations, and through tenacity and spirit and courage and the support of others, formed a party, took on a president, took on a nation, literally brought us closer to the promise of America, which is yet unfulfilled, but closer. And nowhere in this nation is a bridge, is a tunnel, is an airport, nothing. There is this bronze statue and people's memories. And that is an injustice, and it is an indignity. I came back and with some friends decided to start a platform, which we now call the March on Washington Film Festival, which is meant to do our part to remedy this. Our history is consciously mistold. This is not an accident. Children are not taught our history for very distinct reasons. And so we provide what is a growing year-round platform for people to tell the truth, first-person narrative, second-person narrative, through film and art and scholarship. There's student civil rights competitions, there are film competitions, there's journalism support to focus on accurate representations of our history, stories not told, stories mistold. The audience support is off the charts, which tells me, as does the new African American Museum, there's an enormous hunger for many of us to learn the truth. And we are dedicated to that. And I need you to join us. I need you to bring content. I'll stop with the following, although there are many, many examples of what I'm about to say. In doing this festival, we learned, and Eric knows this because he appeared with her at least once, there was a 5th little girl in that basement at the 16th Street Baptist Church. And her name was Sarah Collins, and now it's Sarah Collins Rudolph. Her sister, Addie Mae Collins, died. And she was partially blinded but did not die. She was 9. And she lives today in Birmingham. She is or under-recognized. There is no apology. There is no victim's compensation. She is an American living witness to state-sponsored terrorism. She, like many others, we have a lot of work to do to draw attention to living people, the children of people, the families and communities of people. What Mr. Stevenson is doing in Montgomery is an important piece of this, but we're all a part of it. I thank you for honoring the work that we're trying to do. I thank you for your support of this important organization. I challenge you, whatever you're doing, do just a little bit more. Thank you all very much.